Hey, what's going on, Renaissance Lifers? Welcome back to Renaissance Life TV. Today, we're talking about who comes first, your mom or your wife. If you're new to this channel, Renaissance Life TV is a channel for men who want to take their lives to the next level. Each week we put out videos on personal growth, success, and a different perspective on navigating life and relationships. Please go ahead and support the channel. Please like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more great videos every single week. Alright guys, so this is a really hotly debated topic. And I feel like this is going to be one for the ages. It's probably been being debated from hundreds of years ago, and I'm sure it's going to be debated long after we're gone from this earth. But I wanted to put in my 2 cents and give you my opinion, what I think about this topic, what I think is healthy, and what I think you can do in order to have as positive of a situation as possible. So as a guy, if you get married or are thinking about getting married, this is going to be one of the things that you should consider. And certainly if you're married, this is one of those things that you're probably going to deal with to some extent or another. So the way I'm going to kind of talk about this is I'm kind of going to break this down in terms of responsibilities. And I think this is a really good framework of thinking through who comes first, per se, right? And I think the answer is one or the other, and it really depends. And then there's also an overall answer. So hopefully I can kind of get to some of that as I unpack this. In order to break this down, we got to think about what is a mom's responsibility when it comes to marriage, what is the wife's responsibility when it comes to marriage, and what is the man's responsibility when it comes to marriage with reference to the mom and the wife. And so I'll take the mom probably first. And so I think off the bat, up front, one of the biggest responsibilities I think that a mom has with regard to a marriage between her son and another woman is to release the son. I think that is so important to the health of a marriage and to the health of the relationship between a mom and a son once a son gets married. And so you don't want the situation, it's not helpful if the mom is holding on to the son as if he is still her everything, right? So, or, sometimes you have a situation where a mom holds on to the son almost like he's a husband. And oftentimes that happens if there is not a husband there, right? So there's a sort of relationship between the mom and the son, and the mom has almost used the son in that instance to replace the position of a husband in her life. So he's the one who makes the decisions with her, or he's the one who for all intents and purposes, if you really break it down and dig deep, is acting as a husband to her. And so that can be very difficult. That can be very contentious because, of course, if she's essentially treating her son like a husband, then she's not going to want to give up that husband to another woman who has actually married her son. So, the sooner and the more a mom is able to release that sort of bind, that can really do wonders for the relationship between the husband and his wife, and the relationship between the mom and the son. So that, I think, is the mom's one of the largest responsibility for a mom when it comes to a marriage between her son and a wife. So let's talk about the wife's responsibility. So I think a wife, and similar to a husband, but we're talking about mom and wife, but when a wife comes into the relationship, part of her responsibility is to respect the family, right? You don't want, the wife to come in and disrespect the family. Now I know that, families will often hold that over a wife's head, right? And kind of like, take everything as disrespect. She can't have a say, she can't voice her opinion and all that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about here. But you don't want the situation where a wife has to deal with the family, scolding the family, blowing up at the family, reprimanding the family, all those sort of things. So one of the tips here that I've employed is, between my wife and I, we've made the decision that, and it was something we learned in counseling as well, where if we're having an issue with my family and my mom, my dad, whoever it is, whatever my family issue is, we discuss it and we come to a decision of how we're going to deal with it. But I address that situation because I obviously have more rapport with my family. It comes from, it's received more easily. They know it's coming from a good place, because maybe if she were to deliver that same message, because the rapport hasn't been built and whatever the case might be, it doesn't go as well, or it may not go as well. And so, that's just a good practice. So when there's an issue with her family, for instance, if there is an issue, she's going to be the one who addresses that directly with her parents, with her dad, or whatever the case might be. So that's a really good way to avoid situations where the wife may disrespect the family or end up in a feud or fight or argument or cussing or whatever the case might be. So that, I think, kind of sums up in a large part what the wife's responsibility is in that situation. Now, when it comes down to the man's responsibility is to deal with his family. That's a big responsibility, right? So, to actually deal with it, not to brush it aside, not to, enable the mom, for instance, since we're talking about wives and moms. You don't want to enable it. You want to deal with the situation, because obviously you have a relationship with your mom if you're the man, and you can deal with that relationship. So I think in that sense, the man's responsibility is to deal with and address his mom directly, to consult with his wife and address the mom. And so, I think in terms of who comes first, it's always like a tough conversation, because nobody wants to say what the answer is, and everybody obviously has different opinions. So I want to know what your opinions are, but I think, if I'm honest, prior to getting married, I think mom came first, right? But once you get married, I think that the wife then comes first. So I think part of marriage, if you're gonna get married, in a true sense, I think the wife is essentially taking on the role of the mother. That's what you want to see, right? And I think any mother-in-law who's loving and loves her son wants to see a woman come in and take care of her son as she would take care of her son. That's kind of the whole thing. You're passing on the baton to the other person to take care of your child as you would take care of them. And, in terms of responsibilities, there's so much of that you can control, and some of that you can't if you are the mom, right? You gotta let them have their relationship. But yeah, when a man and woman, they get married, they separate from their families in a sense, right? And they leave and they cleave to one another. That becomes now the family. So, a lot of times I hear this sort of conversation about family is everything, family is this and that, whatever. And that's true. And if that is true, the new family is the husband and the wife. So, essentially what the man's family is saying is that he should be concerned about his nuclear family, because that is the family of precedence at that time. And let's be honest. I think a lot of the angst between giving a wife her true position in a marriage with a man comes from the fact that we have such a high divorce rate. So there's kind of this sense that well, when you guys divorce, I'm going to be the one who's there at the end of the day. And I think that's unfortunate. Hopefully that's not the conversation that you guys are having, because I think there's, some toxicity there, some other things that need to be dealt with, maybe some counseling. And I think, it's a very tough thing. I think for, a lot of women, for a lot of moms to release that hold over their sons, because there's such a love. It's kind of like, a father and his daughter are super close, and then a mother and her son tend to be super close, right? Or have that really strong connection. So, it's something that definitely takes work, and it may not be perfect up front, but I think ultimately the answer to the question for me anyway, and with anything I say, it's my opinion, just what my experience has been. You guys are welcome to disagree, but my opinion is that the wife comes first. If she's your wife, then she comes first, and that's what you would want. And if you have a mom who's married, then her husband likely comes first in that relationship, and for her husband, she comes first. And it's kind of one of those, do what you would like to be done to you, because at some point, if you have kids, then it's going to be the same thing, and hopefully you're willing to take that step back if you become that mom, and if you become that dad, to allow your child to then be fully committed in a relationship with their partner. All right, man, that's all I have. That's my opinion. Those are my thoughts on it. As to whether a wife or a mother comes first, I think the ultimate overall answer is that a wife comes first. Of course, there's going to be, exceptions and circumstances and things like that. Obviously, if the wife was somehow completely trifling and she's trying to destroy the relationship, maybe what you have there is a problem in your own relationship that you got to deal with, right? And then if that relationship is no longer a thing, then the mom would eventually become first and foremost again. So we hate to see that happen, but if that's the case, then that's the case. So that's my opinion, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Does a wife comes first? Excuse me, can't even talk. Does a wife come first, or does a mother come first? Which one is it to you? Does it change depending on the circumstance? Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. And as usual, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And I'm wishing you health and happiness until next time. All right, guys. Cheers.